The day of my accident, I was actually having an awesome day. Everything was like close and big business deals. I had a good buddy coming in town from out of town, and one of my best friends from college, he came over, and we were just having a great day, and we were going over to my parents to eat pizza and have all this fun time. And this buddy that had come into town that day, he would go surf with me a lot. He would come surf, and we would go ride longboards whenever we were at school or on mainland. So we would just go do these big hills where we could get a lot of speed. And then that day when he came in town, he brought his longboard, and that was just an unspoken fact that was definitely something we were doing while he was in town, is that we were going to go longboard.
So Will and Brad ran out, and they were going to go down the hill one time.
Longboards are built for a lot of speed, so it's not really skateboards where you're not getting a lot of speed, you're doing a lot of tricks. Longboards are just meant for how fast can you go. I just remember starting as fast as I could, already realizing, hey, I'm going pretty fast, I love this. And then I went over the lip of the hill. That was the last thing that my mind has a memory of.
Brad comes running up to the house and said, Mr. Stewart said call 911 because Will hit his head. And as I was running up the hill, the ambulance came by. Will had come to a little bit at that time, and he was kind of fighting them, but they got him on the stretcher and put him in the ambulance. One of the volunteers came and got me, and she put me in a little waiting room and was very kind and brought me something to drink, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the seriousness of it. Dr. Banks and Dr. Walker came in and explained to us what had happened. That he fractured the back of his skull and he crushed the front, and that he has lost consciousness.
There was a lot of bleeding in the brain. There was a lot of monitoring that we had to do with his intracranial pressure. His outcome looked very poor. Everybody just fought and fought and fought. His family was so wonderful, and they were so grateful, and everybody just worked as hard as we could. It was almost like a village effort. The whole team kind of went in, and he became our child.
Just remember, telling you what a blessing he is. And he's had such a great life. And I'm so proud of him. I heard the nurse talking to the ICU, and they were getting a room ready for him in the Neuro ICU. And I heard him say it was a trauma 1. I knew that was serious. And I just remember thinking, it's going to be okay. He's here with a lot of great people who know exactly what they're doing. And I was so thankful we were here. He was completely paralyzed and in a medical coma, and he was swelling, was increasing. Then at 5:45 the next morning, they had called to say, Dr. Banks needs to speak to you. And he had told us about they were going to need to remove part of his skull. I had never in my life heard about that. I didn't know they could do things like that. He said the swelling was so much that was the only choice we had. Right now there's life in him, and as long as there's life, we'll keep doing the next thing. He did say that it's a very risky surgery, but they've had a lot of success with it, doing what they wanted it to do and releasing some of the swelling.
This would be very hard for him to overcome.
The surgery went very well. The doctor was pleased. He came back in to consult with us afterward. He explained to us that Will would never be the same, having so much damage done to his frontal lobe, and that's where your personality is. And I think that's the point that my heart hurt the most, because he has such a fantastic personality. He loves life. He loves people. He's never met a stranger. But we had life, and we were thankful.
He ended up developing a respiratory issue where we actually ended up putting him on a rotoprone bed, which is a very difficult bed, but the most difficult part is how sick the patient is that's in it.
He was on that 24, 36 hours, and it seemed to help.
Next thing you know, he started advancing really quickly, actually. The day that he started following commands, It happened on night shift, but even when day shift kind of caught air of it, I mean, it put almost the whole unit in tears. It was just such a really big ordeal. It was a really big thing.
One of the nurses called us one morning about 5 and said, "You need to get up here, your baby boy's waking up." And that was probably day 17, 18, I'm not really sure.
The first memory that I have when I woke up was looking over and seeing my dad sitting there to the left, and he was smiling, and he said, "You see what's on my face? I'm smiling because you've been given a gift that most people don't get in life."
And then when Dr. Banks came in to see him the next morning, he was able to tell Dr. Banks, "Thank you for saving my life."
I would say that my mindset changed a lot on what really matters, what's a big deal, what's not a big deal, and how important, today is. Because for the longest time, I was younger thinking, yeah, I've got plenty of years to live. I'm 23, I'll be fine. But I almost didn't.
The most important thing, I think, that the nurses and the doctors did, they were just kind. Nobody wants to be in this place, but they were kind.
We do deal with a lot of very tough things. We're constantly under pressure, but I love every single one of my coworkers. Everybody's so amazing. They all have such good attitudes. We're family.
So the whole time that I had with Neuro ICU, I was treated amazing, and they did a fantastic job at everything medically, but even just the relational caregiving side was just something I miss a lot. It was like my favorite thing of the whole time, was that last week before I left. What a lot of people probably don't understand is that when I was going through all that, there was a group of people that were here that I got to go through all that with.